Since the previous video explored Cats Don't Dance, a film featuring an orange tap-dancing talking cat in late 1930s Hollywood, this video naturally explores Batman the Animated Series. The connection being that they are both pieces of media that exist. Oh, and that they're both animated Warner Brothers properties. That's a better connection. I should have said that instead. And now I have. The following list of overlooked episodes isn't intended to reflect a personal or definitive top 10, and instead aims to celebrate strong, seldom discussed installments of the show that fall slightly short of true classic status. 5 original 1992 to 1995 Batman the Animated Series episodes, and 5 from the 1997 to 1999 sequel series The New Batman Adventures will be discussed. Being alphabetically ordered, the list begins with Appointment in Crime Alley. Batman is tasked with preventing numerous disasters, while the villainous Roland Daggett plots the demolition of a historical Gotham City district. Tantalizing clear suspense, heightened by the audience being made aware of Daggett's plot long before Batman himself is, and diversely exciting action set pieces are offered while Batman's vulnerability and backstory is explored in a unique, insightful, thorough fashion. The episode allows understandable discussion of universally relevant subjects such as political corruption and misleading publicity. One slight criticism is that while Roland Daggett, a relatively realistic, wealthy criminal, is well suited to this story, his prominently featured henchmen feel underdeveloped when compared to other secondary rogues featured in this series, or even in the Batman franchise generally. Though in fairness, the focus on Batman as opposed to the villain of the episode is refreshing, and an appearance from a more elaborate villain would likely trivialize the seriousness of the story, unless it was the Condiment King, of course. This is a very subjective and biased criticism. Others are likely to hold a different point of view, or should I say, P.O.V. 3 police narrate their fateful encounters with Batman and a gang of gangsters. While recounting their embellished experiences, the true events are shown in an engaging, efficient, highly original display of the unreliable narrator trope. Vividly coloured cinematic visuals, gripping action, and natural, layered, intimate characterization of Batman, whose relatively minimal appearances in this episode prove hugely impactful. Harvey Bullock, the inconsiderate yet ultimately well-meaning and formidable detective, Renee Montoya, the immensely resourceful lieutenant, and Wilkes. Don't know his first name. I doubt the creators do either. The naive newcomer. One slight disappointment of this episode is that the gang leader, essentially the main antagonist, wears a distinctive outfit and is typically obscured by shadows in a manner that suggests he'll receive some shocking identity reveal and or play an important role in future episodes. Neither of these happen. He remains an anonymous figure who never reappears. The bowler hat and cane of the Riddler or the Clock King and the monocle of the Penguin unite to create a character who is less interesting than all 3 of them. Though in fairness, the episode prioritizes advanced storytelling and diverse characterization, so a more distinctive, important villain may have detracted from these strengths, unless it was the Condiment King, of course. Sorry if I'm hard to understand. Unfortunately, since I'm not on screen, viewers are unable to read my lips. This episode chronicles Batman's first encounter with the meek, troubled ventriloquist Arnold Wesker and Scarface the malevolent doll, with an authentic film noir tone which was displayed in most episodes, controlled sinister surrealism, showcasing of Batman's intelligence and skills in uncommon ways, and a degree of ruthlessness which impressively caters to censorship requirements and complements the episode's mood. Other virtues include the immensely capable voice acting of George Dzunza, who plays both the ventriloquist and Scarface, sophisticated psychological character drama, and an engrossingly dramatic, tastefully dark ending. A slightly misplaced, contrived plot detail early in the story is one of the very few flaws, and even this was necessary for the plot to progress. The strange secret of Bruce Wayne. I couldn't find a way to transition into this one. Thanks to an invention that sees thoughts, a corrupt doctor discovers Batman's secret identity and consults Joker, Two-Face, and the Penguin in order to auction the evidence. The bold premise allows for thorough examination of challenging human emotions such as guilt, meaningfully abstract abstract imagery, strategically incorporated sci-fi elements, purposeful appearances from classic villains of the show, delicately balanced with the introduction of newcomer Dr. Hugo Strange, a thrilling climax, and morbid wit, all enormously benefit the episode. A certain potent scene deeply affected me as a child, and while I appreciate that praising a scene based on its potential traumatic effects on children is questionable, the fact that an animated superhero series fundamentally aimed at children so clearly communicated such powerful themes is an important achievement. Unfortunately, Strange is much less physically threatening than his comic book counterpart, though this change is justified since it results in scenes that would otherwise be impossible, or at least much less plausible. A slightly clearer flaw is that the story's conclusion suddenly introduces a specific element that perhaps required foreshadowing to feel more believable. Time out of joint. Assisted by advanced time-manipulating technology, returning villain Clock King marks his second and final appearance with the planting of explosives that prove inconvenient for the dynamic duo, since some days you just can't get rid of a bomb. Sci-fi elements add welcome whimsy to an already engaging conflict. The creativity and tension invited by the premise is fully utilised, and the villain is a motivated, threatening, visually distinctive one. One slight issue is that the Clock King's motives have remained completely unchanged since his previous appearance, even though potential to develop these motives definitely existed. And with this segment concluded, the following segment focuses on episodes from the new Batman adventures. Being alphabetically ordered, this list begins with The Demon Within. Batman and Robin, the latter mantle now being held by Tim Drake rather than Dick Grayson, are assisted by Batman's sorceress ally Jason Blood, alter ego of the demon Etrigan, in a battle against the dark arts. Fully embracing supernatural elements adds a degree of complexity and variety to the series, ignites an intriguing plot, allows for striking experimental imagery, and introduces Clarion the Witch Boy, voiced skillfully by the late Stephen Wolfe Smith, a villain who introduces a very specific threat and whose youthful demeanour enhances his menacing nuance. Calculated bursts of humour further complement an episode that's blemished slightly by its unusual themes. Very few episodes from either iteration of this series are as overtly fantastical as this one. While this is generally its greatest strength, it also serves as a weakness occasionally, since certain pieces of lore feel slightly rushed or underexplored, since they are never used in future episodes. We as an audience never see the demon Etrigan again. This is a challenging video to compile alone. If it was a collaboration, there'd no doubt be some double talk. The final episode, focusing on the ventriloquist, whose debut was discussed earlier, shows the troubled man's attempts to reform and offers introspective, sympathetic, tragic character drama while logically incorporating action and immersive jeopardy that lead to a cathartic climax and a warmly uplifting final scene. Flavoured by a malleable score that adopts optimistic or malevolent qualities depending on the scene's tone, in a similar fashion to the authentic, energetic, rhythmic jazz of Read My Lips. One flaw is that the ventriloquist suffers from the sequel series' redesign, with his new character model being much more basic and slightly unsightly. That sounds like a children's horror book series. R.L. Stein's Slightly Unsightly. While the new Batman Adventures is seemingly generally appreciated, the original Batman the Animated Series is widely regarded as being at least slightly stronger, solely due to the fact that the new Batman Adventures is slightly weaker. Actually, that's fair. And while the new Batman Adventures ultimately proved a worthy successor, along the way it did experience growing pains. The new Robin meets an amnesiac girl fleeing an enigmatic man, with its honest, contemplative characterization and dialogue, convincing voiced performances, interesting visuals, mysterious plot, and incredibly intelligent twist ending. This episode proves an extremely strong, moving offering. I'm typically drawn to the dark, borderline traumatic episodes of this show, though, in my defense, I am a monster. One flaw is that the episode essentially relies on a certain character displaying abilities they hadn't in previous episodes, though, given the firmly established immense power level of this particular character, even this detail is a very minor sin at most. While several Batman episodes offer high-octane moments, the next episode on this list provides the ultimate thrill. An adrenaline-craving villainess causes mayhem in Gotham City, with its riveting action, fashionably designed, potentially vulnerable, fundamentally sympathetic and hugely capable antagonist Roxy Rocket, charismatically voiced by Charity James, engaging character relationships, particularly that between Roxy and the Penguin, whose most important qualities are well represented during his scenes, and a playful tone somewhat reminiscent of the 1966 Adam West Batman series. This episode is plagued only by a slightly simple simple story. Those who are still watching the video, all one of you, have done me a great favour, which I will consider returning. After all, you scratch my back. In an attempt to distance himself from Batman, Nightwing, the former Boy Wonder, joins forces with Catwoman to oppose a drug smuggler. Pronounced character growth, particularly from Nightwing himself, thrilling chase sequences, viscerally tense, fluid fight scenes, Catwoman's appealing, Michelle Pfeiffer in Batman Returns influenced redesign, and a satisfying conclusion are the traits that warrant this episode's mention on this list. One flaw is that the excellent fight sequences are arguably wasted on Ricky the Hook, a one-time, stereotypically bland villain who inexplicably poses potentially more of a physical challenge to Batman than the majority of his most powerful foes. It feels disingenuous that any minor villain would provide such a threat to the Dark Knight, unless it was the Condiment King, of course. And this concludes the list. Though she didn't feature in any mentioned episodes, the tragic recent passing of Arlene Sorkin, Harley Quinn's original definitive voice actor, requires mention. She will be sorely missed and her work fondly remembered. Viewers, you are encouraged to share your thoughts on these episodes and to mention any episode of either iteration of the series you consider similarly overlooked. Thanks for watching, and if I don't see you next time, I'll assume you're tirelessly working on a children's horror book series entitled Slightly Unsightly. I expect credit and £1,000. Actually, that's a lot. Let's say 2 pence instead. Read my lips and they will tell you enough is enough is enough. Read my lips and they will tell you enough is enough is enough is enough. Read my lips and they will tell you enough is enough is enough is enough.